So this morning, I want to share with you some of my current research that is about how companies have made use of their supply chain to create values. I think most of us recognize that supply chain is important because you have to be cost efficient, because that's how you can perhaps increase your margin through the reduction of inventory, through the reduction of your working capital and the operating cost. But in fact, I think increasingly, excellent companies, world-class companies, have made use of the excellence in the supply chain to enter into new market, into new products, and create tremendous values. So this morning, I want to share with you how companies can make use of their supply chain to create values. It's a value creation proposition. It's not just cost cutting and cost reduction. Now, when we talk about value creation, these days, it's also important for us to think about the global landscape. It's not sufficient for us to focus on how companies can do well in mature economies. But instead, many of the emerging economies are the exciting opportunities. Those emerging economies, Mexico included, includes countries like Asia, China, in Eastern Europe, and many of these emerging economies are where the focus of the next generation of growth is. And if you want to think about supply chain to create values, I think we have to look at how we can also create values in those new economies. And so that's why this morning I want to share with you some of my recent work that are actually more focused on emerging markets, emerging economies, as opposed to well-mature, established markets like the US. Yeah. So I have a framework on how companies can create values. So this is a very important chart. I think I like it very much. This is the most important chart of the talk, that if there is one slide that you want to retain, this is it, and the rest are just good stories to support it. Yes. And so this slide talks about how companies oftentimes, when they build evolutions, when they try to evolve their supply chains to create values, oftentimes they go through 3 stages. There are 3 stages that they have to embark upon to create values in their supply chain. The first stage is what I call process excellence stage. And that is the stage which I think a lot of the past supply chain conferences and consultants, as well as many of the good authors, have written about. It is how can we do the process in a more responsive and more efficient way. So many companies have done an extremely good job in doing that, so that they can cut the cycle time, new product introduction time, manufacturing cycle time, transportation cycle time, so we become more agile, we become more reliable. And that is useful, that is important. It enables us to grow, it enables us to win customers because of our agility, because of our reliability of service. And that's wonderful. That's the first stage. But the second stage is that you have to do that repeatedly. You have to do it all over the company, and not just good with one product. It's not just good with one geography. So I call that scale. When you have scale, you actually, both of course scale means that you can have bigger benefits, but you also can leverage scale to do things that you haven't been able to do before. You can leverage that scale to allow you to do mass customization, so that now you are not just offering one excellent solution. We can offer many, many multiple excellent solutions. So that's what I call scale. Scale is about doing things, even more products, more personalized offering, personalized solutions. So that's scale. But as companies become very good in process excellence, and as companies becomes very good in scale, they can enter into the third stage. And the third stage is what I call business value creation stage, where you change the process. You're not just doing the process faster and better. We are fundamentally rewriting what the processes are. So that new processes can come up. These new processes can result in the use of our new network, and the new network to offer a different kind of solutions to the customers, so that I'm not just selling you the same products, better products, more variety, but I am offering you a totally different potentially solution and product solutions. And that is the most powerful stage. That is the stage which companies need to do if you are entering into a new economy. Because the new economy may not be able to consume the product as well as a mature economy. In a mature economy, if you're selling a particular product, maybe the customers know how to use it, the customers are happy, and they are satisfied if you can produce and ship the products on time. But in a new economy, they may not be familiar with your product, and you may have to offer a completely different solution. And so I think that's why we need to go through 3 stages. Now, of course, some companies are very good and they can do all 3 stages at once. Some companies will do 1 stage at a time, and some may jump a step. But regardless, I think what we should aim at is not just good at process excellence. Process excellence is the foundation. Process excellence is the first stage, but it's never, never sufficient. You have to do more than that, because the 3rd stage is the stage which really create big business values. I came from Hong Kong originally. So Hong Kong is where I grew up with. Now, Hong Kong used to be a British colony. It's under the British rule. And so the people in Hong Kong and Britain, we have a love-hate relationship. The love-hate relationship means that the people in Hong Kong hate British because nobody likes a foreign governor. Nobody likes to be governed by a foreign power. Because Hong Kong people, most of them, 95% were Chinese. And so they like to ask, if we are Chinese, why should we be under the British rule? But we love the British because under the British rule, they gave us democracy. They gave us kind of open economy so that Hong Kong was able to grow economically. So that's why there's a love-hate relationship. And there are lots and lots of stories about the British in Hong Kong. Recently, I heard about a story about the Hong Kong, about a mayor in China. This story came from Hong Kong. This mayor in a small city in China, he wanted to modernize the city. So the Chinese mayor says that, I wanted to make my city as modern as possible so that we can have economic growth. And so he says, I want to build infrastructure. And one of the infrastructure that he wanted to build is a bridge. Because his city, his little town, was separated by a river. So there is an eastern part and there is a western part. And you need bridges to connect the east and the west. And in the past,